Yes, ma'am.
So this is the first topic which we are going to
Visible, ma'am.
discuss, and it is going to be theoretical. So we are going to discuss what is GIS first of all. So I hope many of you have already seen the demo session, and we kind of discussed a little bit about what is GIS and its application in different domains and all that stuff. So let's just get started with that first. So GIS basically stands for Geographic Information System, right? So this system takes data or information about position and space on Earth's surface and Earth's geography. So you can collect data, you can manage it, you can do calculations and manipulations in these data sets, and you can display your work and whatever information you have gathered and whatever you have analyzed in a more presentable and understandable way using GIS. So GIS basically is an integration of hardware, software, and data sets, right? So it's not necessarily just computer systems or desktop systems and laptops, but GIS can be used in tablets and mobile phones as well. Definitely, the processing part won't be that strong in tablets and mobile phones because of the processing capacity. But since, like we have discussed, that capturing data, displaying data, visualization, and monitoring is also a part of GIS system complete umbrella. So tablets and mobile phones are generally and mostly used for collecting information, ground surveys and all that stuff, and monitoring the progress of any project, visualization of the maps and all. So basically the Google map which you use in your phones and tablets is a very good example of GIS. So GIS is basically everything which comes under position and surface on Earth and information related to that. Now, it basically, as we discussed, is a set of hardware, software, and data set, which can be used to easily analyze real-world problems by understanding patterns and relationship between different factors and find solutions for those problems which we are observing and which we are finding out through GIS analysis and manipulation and all that stuff. So basically, for example, you have tabular data like census information about population, household size, household numbers, poverty, GDP, and all that stuff. So what you can do is that you can integrate, you can relate these tabular non-geographic data with information about the land. Like you can relate this data set with the land cover. You can relate this data set with how urban areas is sprawling and changing. You can relate this information of population or GDP growth and all that stuff with how agricultural land is changing in your area, whether it is increasing and decreasing, and does it have any effect on GDP of that city or town or not, right? So GIS is a system in which you can integrate multiple types of data sets about position of Earth or surface on Earth's or area on Earth's surface, and you can analyze or assess real world problems and find solution to that. Right now, we have also discussed that GIS is applicable in multiple kind of domains. Right, so it is applicable in urban planning and transportation. You can study urban sprawls, and you can plan public transportation systems using GIS. You can find areas which do not have healthcare facility or education facility. You can check on how government policies are performing in a particular area. You can track natural resources, whether it is deteriorating or whether it is improving. For example, you can see how forest cover in an area is increasing or decreasing. You can see how water bodies are contracting with time in a particular area, how river is changing its course in a course of time. So all these things you can analyze and observe. You can plan location of network. You can plan location and networks of utility services like water supply, sanitation, solid waste management. You can understand disaster risk. You can find vulnerable areas, and then according to that, you can plan for relief and preparedness in that particular area. You can find more suitable location for market or retail or any shop, so that you can maximize the profit of that particular project. You can also ensure sustainable and resilient development in the area, and you can ensure public safety. So these are the multiple applications where you can use GIS. But one thing is going to remain the constant, whether you are using GIS for urban planning or disaster management or any other application. It is that how you are going to use it, and in which format. So basically you'll be using GIS for three things. You'll be using for planning for any project. So planning here includes assessing the current scenario, what is available on ground, what you have, and assessing the feasibility of your project. So whatever you are proposing, suppose you have to propose a metro project in a city. So before proposing the project, you need to analyze the current scenario. Is there land available? Is there need of metro? Is there enough traffic, or the problem of traffic congestion in the city which can be dealt with metro project? So like for analyzing the current scenario and for studying the feasibility of project you are going to propose, this comes under planning. So GIS applicable in planning first. Second, GIS is used for monitoring of any project of or monitoring of any resource available on ground. So basically you have implemented, suppose, metro project in a city. Now you want to monitor how it is performing. Does traffic problem is solved after bringing the metro project in the city? Like, is there less traffic congestion than before in particular major junctions of the city or not? Does metro project and location of metro stations is impacting the economic activities around those stations or not? So whatever information or problem or scenarios of I'm talking about here are related to space on ground, are related to position on ground, and everything which is related to position on ground or space on space on ground can be analyzed and studied in GIS, right? That is the whole system, geographic information system. So that is the second thing, which is monitoring. Now, third thing is impact assessment. So you can assess the impact of any project or event using GIS. So if there is a disaster of flooding or earthquake, you can see how it has affected an area, how much destruction is being done, and what needs to be done to tackle that. And you can assess, okay, what, like as I said earlier, like if we are bringing a metro project in a city, what are the impacts of that project, right? So whatever application, domain of application is, these three major topics are going to be the same, that is planning, monitoring, and impact assessment, in which you'll be using GIS. Now coming on to the requirements of GIS, first one is the hardware. So hardware here includes computer system, that is your basic laptop, desktop system, tablets, and mobile phones. So here computer systems mainly I'm talking about our desktop and laptop system, because majority of the processing is done in these systems, right? Now next is your GPS and DGPS. Now GPS is a global positioning system. If someone is from civil engineering background or geography background, you must have heard of these instruments. So global positioning system, GPS, it is basically used for positioning, for finding the location, for tracking any activity or vehicles or something, or it is used for navigation and timing also. So that is GPS. So basically there are a set of satellites which are used to find the location on ground with the help of a receiver. So if you are using if you have GPS in your phone is the receiver. Or if you have a GPS device, then your GPS device is the receiver, right? So there are different satellite systems from different countries. Like US has its own satellite navigation system, which is mostly used by all over the world. That is Google Map is using that system. And Russia has its own system. We also have our own navigation system, that is IRNSS, basically Indian Regional Satellite Navigation System. So that is also there. But there are different kinds of satellite constellations. So there are multiple number of satellites, suppose 20, 24 satellites in different navigation systems, and 3 to 4 satellites are used to basically find any location on Earth using the receiver. So this is how GPS works. So if you have GPS device, you go on the location and you find the latitude and longitude, the position of that location, and you record it. So this is the use of GPS. The second device is DGPS, that is differential global positioning system, right? So in GPS we have one receiver, that is GPS device or your phone, but in DGPS we have two systems. One is base and one is rover. So what you do, you set up base in a fixed location. So suppose you have fixed base in the terrace of your institute or in the terrace of your house, and you move with rover all around the city. So wherever you want to record the location, you go and you set up your rover and you record the location of that particular place. So this is GPS. So what is the difference between two is that GPS gives you relatively lower accuracy as compared to DGPS. GPS may you will get accuracy of few meters, like 3 to 15 meters. But in DGPS, you'll get a better accuracy of around 10 centimeter or 15 centimeter, because there is a ground base set up in a particular location, jiske according you'll get a calibrated location in your rover, in your device. So that is why DGPS is used when you need more accurate location information for any of the project. Now GPS can be used all around the world in anywhere, but with DGPS, if you have set up a base in a particular location, you can only record location of area around 100 kilometer or something, not more than that. So if you want to do the local survey, you can use DGPS for better accuracy. Now another instrument is total station. So it is used for surveying and construction when you want to find out the slope or contour in any particular area. You need horizontal and vertical angles of any particular location or site. So basically for site surveys, total station is used. Now, these are the instruments which are used for basic survey of location and terrain of any particular area, right? So this can be used if you want a lot of accuracy, very good accuracy for any of your project. So yeah. Next are scanners and plotters. So plotters are basically big printers which print sheets of A0 size or A1 size, like that. So why we need scanners and plotters is because government maps, like maps with the land record department or municipal corporation, they mostly provide printed maps. Like if you go to a village and you need a map of that particular village, you'll get a map which is in a very tear wear condition, like a cloth map or something like that. To bring these kind of old hard copy maps into GIS system, you need to convert them into soft copy. So that's why scanners are very important in GIS domains. Now, this is all about hardwares. Second, we need softwares. So softwares are used for, as we discussed earlier, for mapping, for calculation, for processing of whatever data sets you have, and for visualization of your information and creating maps. Another thing which is very important, obviously, is data set. So you have different types of data set. You have spatial data, you have non-spatial weight data. So spatial data is basically whatever information about the space is spatial data, and whatever the tabular data like census and all that stuff is your non-spatial data. Now the difference between primary and secondary data is that primary data आप किसी साइट पे गए हो अपना GPS device लेके and you are collecting the information of location. So you are the person who's collecting the information. So this becomes primary data when you yourself collect the data. Secondary data is that someone else has done the survey and published it, and you're using that data. Or satellite remote sensing imageries, that is also a very good example of secondary data. That satellite has collected the data, someone has processed it and provided you the final output. That is a secondary data, right? So this is the difference between primary and secondary data. Then comes your GIS expert and operators. So these are the people who understand the data and who understand the software and can analyze these in GIS softwares and can bring out a solution of real world problems. So now there are two types of GIS experts and operators. One, which are domain specific. So there are GIS experts and operators specifically for problems related to transportation. Some are specifically related to water bodies or natural resources. Some are specifically related to forest and vegetation and like that. So these are people, these are experts which are very domain specific. Now comes non-domain specific people. So these are the people who have very good knowledge of software and data. So they just see every problem as input data and output. So they are mostly people who work with processing of data sets, not much with the application of it. Right? Because for the application part, you need the knowledge of that particular domain as well, whether it is agriculture, urban planning, transportation, or water resources or anything else. Okay. Any doubts still here? Anyone? Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Let me know if you have any doubt. You can stop me in between the session and we can take up the doubts. Okay. So let's just move ahead. Now, as we discussed earlier that we have different types of data sets. So next we are going to discuss is different types of data sets. So we have geographical data. Now, geographical data is everything which is related to features on Earth. So it could be maps, it could be some pictures of ground, which have these are like symbols, lines which represent road network, river network. These are symbols which represent different locations on ground. So these is one example of geographic data. Another is like one example is also aerial photographies, basically images of any particular area on ground, in which you can identify different features, like you can identify buildings or roads and all that stuff. Another is remote sensing data. Then we have topographic sheets. So topographic sheets are basically maps generated by Survey of India, which contains information related to topography. So you'll get information about water bodies, rivers, forest, contours, elevation basically, then major roads and settlements. Now topographic sheets are available at 1:50,000 scale, and either you can download it from Survey of India website, or you can buy a hard copy and scan it and then use it. Now then we have other scanned maps like the village property land record maps, which I talked about. So it is an example of cadastral map or khasra map, which we have, which contains the land record. Basically, each khasra is each plot. So it contains information according to khasra number. So khasra number and their owner, the use of that particular plot or land, then soil type in that particular land, crop type in that particular land, irrigation, and all that stuff. So in village, these are the informations which are available with khasra number of any particular lot. And this is how khasra maps looks like. Then we have attribute data. So attribute data is basically tabular data with rows and columns and text information. So census information, census data is an example of tabular attribute data. Another is physical observations or surveys. So you have created survey forms and you have gone to like places and you have talked to people and you have written the observations. So these are also attribute data. Then next set of data is spatial and non-spatial data, as we discussed earlier. So spatial data is the information which contains scale, coordinate system, and latitude, longitude. These three things we'll be discussing in detail in tomorrow's session: scale, coordinate system, and let long. So if you don't have much understanding of these three terms, it's fine. We'll be discussing these in tomorrow's session. Another is non-spatial data, which does not contain these information. And we'll see why this information is important in GIS.